a thumbs up. I think we're back. We're back. Are we back?
Are we back? Just like
I believe,
the Colorado
I believe
Rockies.
we're back.
We've
We've gotten a thumbs up from our guy Yaya. Give us a thumbs up in the chat if you could hear us. Sorry for the technical difficulties out of the gate. We were just admiring the Rockies win a little too much. It's a rare day that we get to actually talk about the Rockies getting a victory today.
Yeah. How many? So you just talked about this. This pod is presented by Bet365. How many Victory Mondays over under will we get this season? I would set it at 7.5, maybe 8.5 for the rest of the year.
Wow, 7.5 Victory Mondays. That's a crazy number.
Sunday in the MLB is a very weird day.
It is.
In terms of like, there's a lot of upsets on Sundays.
Back of a doubleheader.
We are the upset of the MLB right now.
We were the back of a doubleheader, and it happened to be the one game this entire season that I have not watched the Colorado Rockies. I said, you know what? It's Easter. I'm going to go out to a movie with my wife. Saw Sinners, incredible movie. Went out and watched that, and I was texting you beforehand, and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna miss anything, but just if something crazy happens, like I'm away from my phone for a couple hours, open up my phone, Rockies won. What the hell, guys? I don't know what.
Chat, do we have to ban Christian from our DNVR Rockies reporter? Do we have to ban him from watching Rockies games because we got to win?
Someone said that the Rockies are going to be reaching out to me here in the next few hours to say that I'm no longer able to attend Rockies games from here on out. I wouldn't blame them. You know, I'll take one for the team if that's what it takes to get the Rockies a couple more wins. And the Rockies are at the point right now too where like they only really win if they're going to win a game in a series. They only do it on the last game of the series.
Yeah, the rubber match, which only matters if you win one of the first two games, has been the Rockies' strength right now. They just test out the scenario for 2 or 3 games, and then they, bam, like a snake. We got Sunday night baseball. The Rockies are undefeated on Sunday night baseball this year, and they're undefeated in the new City Connect uniforms. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Are we back?
Yeah.
Are we back? This is a good season again.
We are honestly at the point where every game they win, we talked about this a little bit last pod, is fully, like, it feels so good.
Yeah.
I went to bed last night so happy about the Rockies winning a game that, especially, we get to enjoy it for a good almost 48 hours because they have no game today. We are marked safe from watching the Rockies today. And they're headed on a little road trip, but there's a lot going on within the team right now, which we'll get to, that's just outside of the wins and losses is really just not even frustrating. It's almost disheartening with some of the injuries, some of the issues. We'll talk about Brenton Doyle, et cetera. Yeah. But like, it's just disheartening that this is going down the way it is.
Yeah. Well, since you guys didn't hear us to start the show, we do have a lot to talk about on the show. We've got, stuff to talk about. I see already in the chat, Burge talking about Hurdle. We're giving our kind of reaction to Clint Hurdles' first couple days, his media availability. I'll kind of share some insight into my conversations with him. Talking about Kris Bryant, obviously, because we talked to Kris Bryant yesterday, and he gave some updates, good or bad, whatever that looks like, whatever your take is on that. I'll share some information on Kris Bryant. And we'll talk about what went right, what went wrong, all the good stuff here. But we got to start the show, as we do every Monday now that the season has started, with our updated Circle of Trust. And can we get some music going here? Yeah, get a little positive vibes, because we've got a couple new members of the Circle of Trust. The Rockies have expanded their Circle of Trust for us, let's say. But I'll start with you. What are your thoughts? Did anything change for you over the weekend for the Rockies' Circle of Trust?
Well, it has to be the two guys that I hated on and only called by their initials to start this year. There's been a lot that I've had to put my foot in my mouth on for the Rockies this season. A lot of it's been the player X person has been worse than I anticipated them being, which goes for almost everybody on the roster. But Jake Bird and Tyler Kinley have been nails the last week and a half. Jake Bird's been going multiple innings, which right now with the Rockies starting pitching, whether it's getting into a jam in the 4th or 5th inning, pitch counts going up with some walks or giving up too many runs, or blisters now. We've got blister issues. The bullpen's had to carry a lot of the load, and they've been a bright spot. So you can almost put the whole bullpen in the Circle of Trust, but specifically Jake Bird and Tyler Kinley belong right firmly in the middle of that.
You took the words out of my mouth, man. I'm putting the entire bullpen in the Circle of Trust right now, simply because the Rockies have had multiple games now where your starting pitcher is out in like the 1st inning, 2nd inning, and the bullpen has come in and been absolute money for the remainder of that game. The Dodgers game, Herman gives up 7 runs in, what was it, 0.2 of an inning, or 2/3 of an inning, and then the bullpen comes in and I think only gave up 1 run the rest of that game. Did they even give up a run? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was 8. I think they lost 8-7.
So they gave up 1 run up to the Dodgers for the remainder of that game. Same thing pretty much happens the other day. Dollander gets beat up. That was a weird one. And then yesterday, like same situation. Agnos comes in. Agnos is a little pit bull. Dude looks like a dog out there. He was fun to watch. I'm throwing Jake Bird, Tyler Kinley, and the entire bullpen. Shiviji makes his way into that mix too. He's been nails. But the big sleeper for me in our new Circle of Trust, the newest member officially of the Circle of Trust, Mickey Moniak. Give a shout out to Mickey Moniak for what he did this week. And the way I look at the Circle of Trust is, if a guy comes up in his situation, whether he is up to bat with the game on the line, or coming into pitch with the game on the line, or a situation that's high leverage, do I have faith that he not is just going to do something positive, but that he's just not going to do something stupid, right? I don't need, like Kyle Farmer was in our Circle of Trust, and I would keep him in the Circle of Trust at this point just because he hasn't done anything bad, and he's had some good hard hit balls. They just haven't fallen into place. But like Kyle Farmer shows up to hit in a high leverage situation, let's say runners at second and third, 1 out. I have confidence that Kyle Farmer, he might not get a base hit, but he's not going to go up there and strike out looking.
He's gonna put the ball in play.
Like, that's the Circle of Trust for me.
Yeah, our Circle of Trust is expanded to, can you take a professional at bat, and with the amount of strikeouts that this team is currently dealing with on a night in, night out basis, can you put the bat on the ball and make the defense make a play? And in the game last night, we were talking about it a little earlier, that the amount of defensive plays on both sides was just unbelievable. That game could have easily been, it was 3-1 final. It could have easily been 5-3, 7-5, something like that, with all the defensive plays the Rockies and the Nationals were making. But yeah, Kyle Farmer's still in the Circle of Trust, and Mickey Moniak, Mickey Mantle, as I like to call him right now, gets a clutch hit and lets the Rockies take the lead literally seconds after I live bet on the Bet365 app that the Rockies were going to lose the game. We're getting shut out by some guy that was working at Home Depot earlier in the year.
You love those stories, though,
Yeah, but they don't need to shut us out. I want him to come in and give up 10 runs to the Rockies at Coors Field.
I think Drew Goodman said that he felt stronger because he had been lifting pallets at Home Depot, and so that got him ready for the season.
Yeah, real feel-good story when it's on your team. But when your team's struggling to score against a guy like that, yeah, and the Rockies had multiple, whether it was walks, a few hits early. I think the 4 of the first 5 innings yesterday, until the Moniak triple, which turned it into the lead and the win, they had chances with runners in scoring position and were just striking out and not getting runners home. And it's been, not that they've had a ton of opportunity with runners in scoring position this year, period, but they have really floundered on those opportunities.
Can I just say how exciting it is, by the way, to have a live studio audience today? We've got Leeds downstairs celebrating whatever they want to celebrate. I still think one of the funniest DNVR moments, just side note real quick, was when Michael Malone gets fired just, a couple weeks ago, and the Nuggets were doing their emergency pod, talking about like the very serious nature that the Nuggets found themselves in, and the Leeds guys were downstairs just screaming while they were like, yeah, Michael Malone got fired. What are we going to do? And there's just cheers coming from downstairs. So enjoying the vibes that they're giving here. And Mickey Moniak has been interesting because he was a guy that had so much potential when he was drafted. Everyone expected him to be the next Bryce Harper, right? Like, he was the number 1 overall pick. And I think the Rockies had their eyes set on him when he initially was drafted. They missed out on him in that year. I think it was 2016. But so to bring him back and for him to have some success, albeit, small sample size, but some success early, it's good to see. I know the Rockies front office likes to see that. And it's also good to see because your team is in shambles right now, not just from a wins and losses perspective either. Like Brenton Doyle, your star outfielder, he's out. Tovar, your star shortstop, he's out. Your star players right now aren't playing at all. So you need some of these kind of sleeper guys who were brought in the offseason to make a difference. Tyro Estrada, you can add his name into that mix as well. So Mickey Moniak being a guy who steps up, is playing really well, adding to the names of Kyle Farmer, Nick Martini, those guys. You didn't expect them to be the ones who were leading the team to a win, against the Nationals, but hell, at this point, we'll take it.
Yeah, 100%. And this is
What are we
just
getting here?
This is a very Rockies scenario that's kind of currently unfolding. And the fact that the guy you signed at the end of spring training because you traded away one of your young promising pieces has become maybe your best hitter 3 to 4 weeks into the season. You've got 2 other vets that you signed to strictly be platoon players and backups to Tyro Estrada, to maybe Michael Tolia in some instances, Ezekiel Tovar. And these guys are absolutely, on a Rocky scale, absolutely shattering it this year. And I wrote this down yesterday because I was sitting there watching the game thinking about it. And I said, if you would have told me in spring training that by April 20th, the leadoff hitters for a Rockies game would be Mickey Moniak playing center field and Kyle Farmer hitting second playing shortstop, along with Adele Amador and Braxton Fulford in the lineup, I would have told you we are capital FUCKED. And we kind of are.
And
but
we
like,
are. Yeah, you're
just
not wrong.
looking at the lineup, it's not even the wins and the losses. Yes, we've talked about it, but we also talked about the fact that doesn't really matter. I mean, it matters, but in our scope of the season, it doesn't. But when you have literally the last 4 guys on the roster, on the 25-man roster coming out of spring training, and then a guy that wasn't even there until the last moment, and those are the best players right now, and injuries aside, and you know, Brenton Doyle, a very unfortunate situation aside, hope him and his family are doing well, and, you know, trying to deal with this insanely bad situation.
Yeah.
But like, we're almost kicking the proverbial roster and player can down the road again, which is not what we wanted to see.
It's funny because every single day, the roster, or not the roster, the lineup gets, you know, released. And as a fan, you look at it, as you said, you look at it and you're like, this is our lineup today? This is the lineup that's supposed to beat the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Los Angeles Dodgers. This is the lineup that's supposed to beat the Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber Phillies. Like, what are we doing? But the flip side of that is when you do get a win, if you get a win, that win hits like absolute crack. You're on top of the world for that moment. So yesterday, although we did not beat the Dodgers or the Phillies or the Padres for that matter, yesterday was a good win. They needed to get a win, head into the off day, you know, feeling good about something. You never want to hit the double-digit losses in a row. You know, getting close to that 10 losses in a row. So we got to pause, take a break here, but I do want to get to some of the things that you guys are talking about in the chat. First of all, Clint Hurdle, my reactions to him and his presence around the locker room, also his dynamic with Bud Black. So we'll talk about that when we come back here from this first break. Well, we got to give some love to our friends right now over at Coors Light. Coors Light is the official beer of the Colorado Rockies and us here at DNVR. And no matter what's happening with the Colorado Rockies, whether we are winning 12-2 or losing 12-2, Coors Light makes everything better, right? Go to Coors Field and pair some beautiful weather for baseball, some beautiful baseball with some Coors Lights. And you just can't go wrong. It makes losing that much better. It makes winning that much better. Coors Light, you can truly make the argument it makes everything better. When you embrace that chill mindset, crack open an ice cold Coors Light. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instant Cart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, based in Golden, Colorado. Also got to give some love to our friends over at Bet365, because at Bet365, we don't do ordinary. Speaking of ordinary, if you've checked the headlines, I'm not going to get specific here, but if you've checked the national headlines across the world today, there is a trend happening on Bet365 where people are betting on Nick Castellanos to hit a home run today. I don't know if that's your thing. I don't know if you tend to pair your bets with Nick Castellanos and news headlines, but if that is you, Bet365 is offering Nick Castellanos home run today. Pretty good odds as well. And history has shown us that in certain headlines that grace our news feed, Nick Castellanos tends to hit a home run. So take that as you will. But whatever you're into betting, whether it's home runs, whether it's the Rockies, whether it's Nuggets, Avs, I'm personally going to be throwing some bets on Avs and Nuggets tonight, because why not? Bet365 has you covered. Use code DNVR365 when you sign up. Deposit $10. Choose between either a bet and get offer by placing a bet of $5 or more and getting $150 back in bonus bets, or a first bet safety net offer by placing a bet of up to $1,000. If your qualifying bet loses, you receive a match refund in bonus bets. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Bet365 must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Bet365 is so with it, they boosted the Castellanos home run to plus 500 from plus 425.
Probably because they just know how it works.
Yeah, and they're boosting you a winner.
So I got to lock that in. A winner. If you don't know what we're talking about, just go on social media. You can figure it out. All right. Clint Hurdle, first-time hitting coach. Not first-time coach, or manager, I should say. But first-time hitting coach for the Colorado Rockies. Made his Rockies hitting coach debut. And I don't know. How do you feel about it from an outsider's perspective as a fan? I'll share my insight on like what went down behind the scenes. But from a fan's perspective, what was your take? Because you probably saw some stuff circulating of his press conference on social media. You saw some of the things he said. How did you feel about everything on Clint Hurdle's first 2 days?
Well, he's a professional. He's been a manager in the MLB for a long time, been around the game for a long time. So he took the professional route of very clearly stating, I'm Bud Black's hitting coach, and this is not something that's moving towards that. Whether or not that's the truth, we will soon find out. But as of right now, his first game was technically as the hitting coach was Friday, correct?
And that was the weird,
Saturday, I should
Friday,
say, yes.
But yes, Saturday was the
and
first game.
They scored 11 runs.
And lost 12-11.
Yes.
Yeah.
But overall, this weekend was a decent weekend for the Rockies offensively.
It was better.
We'll take that. We'll take the 11 runs. That was a fun loss. We've added a fun losses counter to the tweet. They had a fun loss and they had a win in the same weekend. If we can get that every weekend, I will be ecstatic.
That's 2 out of 3 for us. That's 2 out of 3.
And, I did look like last night in the night game, only 10 strikeouts. I know that seems like a lot, and it probably in the scope of the MLB is a decent amount, but when it's 16, 17, that's when more than half your guys are striking out. I'm not saying that Clint Hurdles made an executive change where all of a sudden everybody's going to not strike out. Zach Veen still was 0 for 4 last night with 3 strikeouts, but if they can bring the strikeouts down, Coors Field is not only everybody talks about Coors Field as just being this home run laden ballpark, and that's not necessarily the case. But what it is a massive outfield where you can get a lot of base hits by just simply serving the ball above the shortstop, the second baseman, the third baseman turns into doubles. We saw one yesterday. A double of a ball that got fisted barely over the first baseman's head and turns into a 2-bagger, which then turned into the Mickey Moniak triple and 2 runs. So Coors Field, put the bat on the ball. That's a very simple John Madden-esque baseball take, but at Coors Field, it really does matter. You getting the bat on the ball, there's a lot of room to get base hits.
Kyle Farmer has made his career now at Coors Field on doing exactly what you just described. And we've actually talked to some players who have said that Kyle Farmer has been helping them specifically to figure out their swing, get back to a place where they can, get more consistent with their at-bats. Zach Veen is a perfect example of that. Veen and Kyle Farmer have been working together. Here's the thing about Clint Hurdle. And I'll start with taking more of your approach of from an actual production perspective. Initially, and I would actually even say long-term, you're not going to see any huge changes. Clint Hurdle can't go out there and swing a bat for the Colorado Rockies organization. There's only so much he can do in minor adjustments to change a hitter's swing and get a hitter into a place where they can be more effective. And he had said to us during his press conference that he's actually not really trying to make that many adjustments. He's looking more for consistency. He feels like the Colorado Rockies team, offensive lineup as a whole, is making too many adjustments, and he's like, you need to find something and stick with it. Even if it's not working, you need to be consistent and let it play out. It's almost like taking medicine, and initially, let's say the medicine doesn't work for the headaches that you're getting, and you go a couple more weeks and you're still getting headaches, but the doctor says, hey, just keep taking it. It might not be working yet, but eventually give it time for your body to adjust to it. It's going to start working again. That's kind of what Clint Hurdle was saying, is that long term, I want these guys to commit to a plan and stick with that through the remainder of this season. Michael Toglia was a good example of that. Michael Toglia is trying too hard to make little adjustments in his swing because he's sucking right now. And Hurdle's like, hey, dude, you just need to figure out what worked for you at the end of last year, go back to that, and just stick with it. Even if it sucks for a while, like, you need to just keep sticking with that. But nothing's going to change dramatically just because Clint Hurdle is the manager. They're still going to strike out a ton, most likely, which kills me. But they are still going to strike out a ton because that's just what the Rockies are as an organization right now. You got to fix that down the road. Their power, I don't really know. Is that gonna pick up as the season goes on? That could change as the season keeps going. But I think what Clint Hurdle is, what he brings to the table as a coach, as a hitting coach, is he is a motivational speaker. He is a guy who can become respected and loved and appreciated within the organization and within the clubhouse. And we saw that pretty much on day one when Zach Veen hits his first big league home run and he goes into the dugout and the first guy that he hugs is none other than the brand new hitting coach, Clint Hurdle. You see a relationship that Clint has built with Zach Veen in his time in the minors, and now Clint's getting an opportunity to work with guys like Ryan McMahon, Brenton Doyle, even Tovar and other guys who, are still more recent with the Colorado Rockies. I think his relationship building and his, his camaraderie almost with the teammates, with his players, I think that's the benefit of having a guy like Clint Hurdle. He said all the right things in the press conference. He, checks all the boxes. I know some people have an issue with like, oh, we're hiring in circles, whatever. To me, on the outside, this is fine. It shows consistency.
Yeah, and especially for an in-season fire and hire, and as quick as it had happened. I mean, it's not even April, not even the end of April yet, and they've already cycled through a new hitting coach. So yes, on Friday I was annoyed by this cycle of what's going on, but at the same time, you're really going to not hire a hitting coach from another organization or outside your own organization when you're in the middle of a season, and it's a long season. And I like the fact that Clint Hurdle talked about them being consistent with a change here or there, because in reality, in baseball, yes, you have the Shohei Ohtanis and the Aaron Judges and the guys that are just hitting 50 bombs a year and hitting, close to 300 and always on base and massive slugging percentage. But if you watch your own team's game for 162 games a year, there's guys that you're going to go 0 for 10. You're going to have 3 straight games without a hit. And if you're constantly changing your approach, that you can just send yourself into another dip and send yourself into another slump. And then you're 0 for 15, you're 0 for 20. So the Rockies hitting has not been impressive this year. We've talked at length about that. But the reality of the situation is a lot of these guys made the major leagues because of their bats and the way they hit. And it's not just, you have to game plan and you have to go against different pitchers, but you got to stick with what got you there. And so I hope that this, like you said, it's not going to be an instantaneous, just dramatic change on the field. But as long as these guys stick with what they've been using to get to the major leagues, Michael Tolio, he put a good half of the season together last year, and now it's not like he lost everything that he had. He's just maybe making too many changes and tinkering too much. I mean, I'm a golf guy and people tinker all the time, and it just makes it worse. If you've played good golf or played good baseball doing a certain thing, yes, there's adjustments you need to make, and you can't just be stuck in your ways, but there's ways to get better with you swing your swing. And that's what a lot of the Rockies need to go back to, and maybe we'll see some, minor improvements. It's just the little things that we talk about with this team where getting the ball in play. Like last night was a perfect example. 8th inning, you're up 1 run, which feels terrifying. You see Tyler Kinley in the bullpen, it feels even more terrifying. Yeah. And they bring in Nick Martini to pinch hit. Infield's in. Zach Veen's at third base. Martini gets his bat on the ball, gets it enough out there to where the second baseman, Zach Veen's going on contact. He flies. And there's no play to be made. And Martini still ended up being out at first base after the throw home and then to first. But he got the bat on the ball, drove in an extra run, gave them a little bit more of a cushion going into the 9th inning, which we didn't end up needing. But those are the little winning plays by Nick Martini just getting his bat on the ball there and putting the ball in play that can translate into wins throughout the season.
Yeah, and Clint talked about, he has adjustments and things he wants the team to work on, drills. Like, he's going to be a coach. But he emphasized this idea that he doesn't want to tinker too much. He doesn't want to over coach the guys. He wants them. He said his whole take, and this is, this is one of his like hurdleisms. It's like, how do I unlock the best version of what these hitters can be, right? Like, how do I like these are all great hitters. These are all big league hitters. And especially some of the guys like Tolia, who we know can be a really, really good hitter. And he's like, my job is just to come in and to unlock that version of them. Like, it's all in there. Just got to unlock it. The interesting thing out of the Clint Hurdle experience that we've seen so far, and shout out to Kevin Henry, friend of the pod, also writer with Denver Gazette, who asked Clint the tough question, or at least dangerous question, because you can get a pretty snippy response from this, of, what does the dynamic between you and Bud Black look like? Because I think the writing's on the wall. I think the Rockies brought in Clint Hurdle not just because he could be a much-needed change in the clubhouse, but also because I think if they do decide to move on from Bud Black, now you have a guy who can step in as the interim head coach, who has head coaching experience or managing experience, and kind of be that position. And so Kevin asked, like, hey, how do you manage that dynamic and whatnot? And Clint very, very clearly emphasized that he's like, I am Bud Black's hitting coach. Bud Black and I are on great terms. We've had good conversations, but I am his hitting coach, and I am here to help Bud Black. And he made a point of it to the point where it actually was kind of like, wow, he's really like pushing on this. Like he came in there prepared for that question. So I think that's interesting. And again, I might be reading into this too much, but I do think when you have a manager in Bud Black who is kind of on the hot seat, not at least as soon as I think people want him to be, but at least through the remainder of the season, I think everyone's pretty much aware that Clint Hurdle, from a managerial perspective, is positioned in a way that he could take over that role. And I think he knows that, so he's trying very hard to like not step on toes.
Yeah, and he is another adult in the room, which is a good thing. Like a lot of these older managers, I mean, we hope that if Bud Black does get let go at some point, like bring in somebody that's new and exciting. But for what they're going through now, it's good to have that other adult in the room that's literally been in that exact same dugout for a World Series that he was the manager for. So I think there's some consistency there. There's some knowledge about Coors Field itself and hitting there in the batter's eye and the division and playing the same teams. Like, obviously, yes, a lot of that's changed since 2007, but it's a consistent voice in the room from the hitting side, because Bud Black, being the manager, still a former big league pitcher, probably has his eyes a little bit more on that. Now it's like almost like a dual manager situation. Now, Clint's never going to say that. The Rockies are never going to say that. Bud Black is the manager. He was very clear on that. But you can kind of read the tea leaves of like, this is another guy that's now potentially the new manager, but also his voice is a little more respected than a lot of normal just hitting coaches.
Yes, and I actually asked that to Bud Black. I said, kind of following Kevin's lead, like, hey, from your perspective, what does that feel like to you? And Bud gave the typical Bud Black answer. Oh, I've done this before. I've been here. He did it with Don Baylor back in the day. He's like, so I know what this is like. But again, I think he was prepared for that as well. I think these guys know what the situation is. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. And if the Rockies end up underperforming well beyond what they were expected to, even as bad as they were expected to be, if they underperform beyond that, Bud Black's job is very much in jeopardy. Now, I am a firm believer that they are not going to make a change in Bud Black, as the manager this early into the year, because why would you? It's just too early. It's too early into the season. You've got to have some sort of consistency when you're playing big league baseball from a managing perspective. But down the road, come July, maybe August, that conversation heats up a lot, and Clint Hurdle becomes very much a part of that conversation. So interesting that they both talked about it. I'm fine with Clint Hurdle. I know some people in the press box, I was talking to some of the other media members, and they were saying, this is same shit, different day, like this is just, we're all just going in circles. And I understand that take, but what else are the Rockies, going to do at this point, given what the Rockies tend to do? It's not like they're going to go out and go crazy here. This is a very Rockies move, and I think given the expectations we had on the Rockies style of move, this is fine. This totally works. Clint Hurdle, I think, will be totally fine, and we'll continue to see how that progresses, see if the offense can strike out less than 10 times per game. Can we set that as like the bar? If the Rockies strike out 10 times or less, that's good for our standards.
100%, absolutely.
Because they had 29 in 2 games to start the series.
It was
it's insane.
It was rough.
You said you wanted to maybe start doing like challenges where if the Rocky, you want to start doing something to match the amount of strikeouts the Rockies have. Your example was eating a hot dog for every strikeout the Rockies have when you go to a game.
Yeah, it does seem a little bit ambitious. The more we discussed it, I think I might.
You would have had 17 hot dogs on, what was it, Saturday's game.
Yeah, I might go into a coma if that happens. So we got to find something. That's
Joey
like,
Chestnut would be impressed by your performance.
We got to find something in the middle there that I can do every single strikeout at games that is fun content wise, but also doesn't quite literally put me under.
It doesn't kill you. One beer every time the Rockies strike out.
A new Zin per strikeout could be a thing.
That could be a thing. In the chat, guys, in the Toyota chat, send us a message. We're going to hit this next break. Give us a message of what you think Spencer and I should do. We're going to come up with something that every time the Rockies strike out from here until the end of the season, we're going to do something. And so what are your guys' thoughts on what you think Spencer and I should do? We'll agree on that when we come back. Alrighty. All right, got to give some love to our friends right now over at Game Time. Game Time is the official app of DNVR, ticket app of DNVR, and they make getting your tickets faster, easier, more efficient, cheaper, whatever you want to call it. Game Time is incredible at what they do. I use Game Time for everything, and I would imagine that the Nuggets games is the Nuggets game sold out tonight?
It is. It's a Game Time only type of game, but you can get in right now for $76 on the Game Time app.
Wow.
Playoff game.
That's huge.
76 beans, all in pricing. And yeah, you're up obviously in the 300 levels, but they've got, I mean, you can sit down low or even club level for $206, which is not that bad.
No.
I mean, this is it's Denver, LA. I mean, it's not the Lakers, it is the Clippers, but Game Time is
LAC.
Yeah, I love Game Time is the best app. We're going to use Game Time Friday night to get us all into the rooftop.
Ooh, you're right. You're
Friday.
right. We got our first Friday rooftop club coming up. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, whatever sport you're going to, Game Time makes it easier to get those tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We also want to give some love to our great friends over at UC Health. They are the official healthcare partner of the Colorado Rockies. And my gosh, they're taking care of those Colorado Rockies right now because we've got, Brenton Doyle was out initially via injury before he went on bereavement. Tovar, Tyro, Kris Bryant, the Rockies injury reports is messy right now. And I'm glad that I'm feeling pretty good. I'm not going out there to play for the Colorado Rockies, although, I might actually be able to help them at this point. But
pull you right out of the press box.
Whether you're a professional athlete or just a regular guy or gal off the street, UC Health, they take care of you. Live like there is a tomorrow by going to uchealth.org for more info. UC Health, live extraordinary. All right, back here on the DNVR Rockies podcast presented by Bet365. We are live from the Toyota Lounge. Christian Saez, Big Fly Spence, and Will Carpenter is in the chat trying to kill us. We had asked the question before, what should we do every single time the Rockies strike out as a challenge for the remainder of this year? And Will says, eat a ghost pepper?
So are you
trying to kill us?
Are you a spice guy? Do you like spice?
Yeah, I like spice. I mean, I enjoy
Do you have
spice.
a high tolerance level?
Yeah, I don't know if I would eat a ghost pepper for fun, but I can handle, for example, Brandon Spano, our captain, he makes some crazy spicy chili, and I can eat that, all in one sitting, and it'll make you sweat.
See, I'm completely out on spice.
Okay.
I'm not out on it.
So you are not
I
a
do
ghost
like it,
pepper
but
guy.
yeah, ghost pepper would kill me. I'd rather do 17 hot dogs than 17 ghost peppers because one ghost pepper might actually end it for me.
You might die.
I tried. There's a brewery. I'm a fan of this brewery that's by my house, and I know some of the brewers there, and they do this challenge almost every Friday where they go get fast food for the whole brewery, and they put Mad Dog 007, which is the hottest hot sauce on the entire planet, according to Scoville units, in the world. And they buy 6 sandwiches, one for everybody. And then they put the Mad Dog in one of the sandwiches and everybody eats them. And you don't know who gets it.
A little sandwich roulette?
Yeah. And I tried this once, and I am not joking you. I was in a bundle in my bed off of work for 2 days
God.
afterwards, after eating just a plate of this hot sauce. And they told me to lick the plate. I was like, yeah, I made $40 off the bet. And then I licked the plate, and I did not leave my bed for 2 days. So anything hot, I'm out.
We did the Packy chip challenge. Have you seen that? The where it's like that. It's one chip, just comes in a box. It's one chip. It's just black with seasoning. It's the hottest chip in the world. We did that during COVID when we were working in Spokane at their NBC sports station. And Marissa and I, my wife and I, she was doing social media at the time, but they put her on TV and they did this challenge where everyone ate the chip, and 2 out of the 3 news anchors threw up from that. So when we got home, Marissa gave me the corner of the chip just to try a little bite. Just the edge. I'm talking I don't know, the size of a grain of rice, maybe, was enough for my entire mouth to be on fire. And people were throwing, it's crazy. So I can do spice, not that kind of spice. That's insane. I was thinking more athletic, 5 push-ups per strikeout. See, Damien in the chat, exactly. I was thinking either pull up, 5 push-ups per strikeout is, dude, I'm gonna be jacked by the end of this. 5 per strikeout. I mean, on a good night, the Rockies are striking out 10 times. That's 50 strikeouts or 50 push-ups for a good game for the Rockies. Can we just make it a push-up per strikeout?
Let's do 5. On Friday night at the end of each offensive inning, we'll do 5, 10, 15, or 0 push-ups.
Oh Jesus!
I'm in.
I'll do that. I was also thinking about pull-ups, and because pull-ups, I think you get more out of a pull-up, physically, but pull-ups are also way harder, in my opinion. Doing 17 pull-ups is way harder than doing 17 push-ups.
Yeah, and we'd have to find an area at Coors Field where that'd be safe to jump up on. I know there's some beams hanging around.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've done some beam pull-ups.
We could definitely do them, but 5 push-ups per strikeout is the goal. That we'll do that on Friday night at the Rooftop Club.
I love that. 5 push-ups per strikeout, Damien. Shout out to Damien for giving us that idea. At this point, we're just trying. If the Rockies are going to be bad, we might as well gain something out of it. We always say, if the Rockies are going to be bad, you might as well make money by betting against the Rockies.
I did that yesterday and lost money.
But that's a rare loss.
But it felt good.
That's a rare loss
for them to win. I'll pay more than just a ticket if they win baseball games.
I love it. All right. I asked the question before, or I brought up the point before this show started. Why doesn't Kris Bryant retire? Because Kris Bryant talked to us yesterday, talked to the media, kind of gave an update on his situation. And I don't want to spend too much time on this because I feel like it's just beating a dead horse. We have talked about Kris Bryant at nauseam.
Basically beating a dead horse.
Yeah, at nauseum. But it bears reminding just because we did get more information, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to say more information. It was all the same stuff. Kris Bryant injured again. Not a big surprise, but the way in which he's injured in that situation is he now has I forget the actual term, but it's a condition. It's not just he hurt his back. It's you have a condition now, which feels much more long term. And when you hear that, you think there's no going back. And I fractured my lower spine when I was in high school. It actually was kind of what ended my baseball career per se. Wasn't able to really hit anymore. Ended up just having to pretty much pitch through college, which was what it was. But I've never healed. I didn't get back surgery, but it's never fully healed. I can still go to the gym. I go work out. I do all the things, but I'm not a professional athlete. And I remember the doctor telling me there are certain limits of you can't do certain things just because you're never going to fully heal from that. Back injuries are crazy. So when you hear what happened with Kris Bryant, you're like, that's it. To me, when I saw that little notice come through, it sealed the deal. Kris Bryant with the Colorado Rockies is done. Absolutely done. We have no expectations for him. Yeah, thank you, Scott, in the chat. Lumbar degenerative disc disease. No hope that he will come back from that. Now, he's saying, my playing career isn't done. I'm still going to do my best. I'm still going to go out there and try. And that's what he needs to say. But the question now becomes, why doesn't he just retire? Why doesn't he just lick his wounds and call it a day? I feel for the guy. Besides money aside and playing aside, business aside, I feel for the guy. This sucks. Totally sucks to be in his situation. But it puts the Rockies in a tough situation because I don't know what the contract looks like. I don't know if there are stipulations of if the Rockies cut him What do they lose? If he retires, does he lose money? That's kind of my guess, is that if he was to have an early retirement, there's something in the contract that says, yeah, you're probably losing out on some money, so he's just not going to retire. But it's a tough situation to be in. But look, I'm telling you guys at home, from what I've seen, Kris is going to say he's going to keep trying to come back. It's done. The Kris Bryant experiment, it's done.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate ending to this experiment, but we've seen this happen a lot more consistently with the Rockies in the last couple of years. Like if those of you remember the Ian Desmond experiment, he came over here almost in the same vein as Kris Bryant, like former close to MVP candidate, great player, came from the Nationals. Obviously, Bryant was the Cubs and a couple other Giants and some other teams, but you feel like it's a guy that could resurrect his career in Colorado at Coors Field, and then he does the opposite of that, and he's so bad that he's not even playable. And it makes it even worse for him that at one point he was a perennial potential Gold Glove winner at third base, then moved to right field, but he can't even play in the field. Like, this is not like you're worried about a guy that's also playing offense and defense. This guy is strictly in the dugout the entire game, other than his 3 or 4 plate appearances, and you're getting absolutely nothing from those, and he is not healthy. And it's such a weird dynamic with Kris Bryant, because in our company, obviously, we have Chicago and CHGO and Cody, and they do a great job covering the Cubs, and they have this idea of what Kris Bryant is in their mind, and we have to see what he is now. And it's a completely different person. It's a completely different not person, I shouldn't say that. Completely different baseball player on the field.
Yeah.
And so we have to deal with it. And we are in the market of not paying players a ton of money, where this guy's making more than probably our 3 or 4 best players combined. And he's not on the field. He's not good when he's on the field. And he's just been kind of this, unfortunately, this giant blemish on the Rockies organization, which has a few of those and has had a few of those in the past, but it's really hurting them right now in terms of just the fact that $27 million a year, whether or not it was going to be spent in the right way, we can never say, obviously, with the Rockies front office. But that $27 million a year, if Kris Bryant would have just hung him up, maybe that goes somewhere else, and maybe that gets us a pitcher, maybe that gets us nobody. But it's really unfortunate, because then it's another move where it's kick the can down the road. He's kicking it down the road, saying he still wants to play. We're going to get a Bud Black or some other new manager with the quote of, we need a full season of KB, or we expect KB to be our veteran hitter, and it's not going to happen again. So that's why I'm just like, I feel for the guy, and I think there's 27 million reasons a year that he should not try to retire, but for the Rockies, it does put him in a very bad spot.
Yeah, I understand it from his perspective. Again, the Rockies gave him guaranteed money. They Russell Wilsoned him. They said, here's all the money guaranteed. And again, I don't know if there's any, fine print that says if you retire early or within this window, you lose out on some of that. I don't know. But aside from that, I think this is a situation, and I've said this on the show before, I fully see this being a situation where the Rockies move forward if they have, let's just say they have a 40-man roster, with Kris Bryant being on that roster and operating as if they have a 39-man roster. Like, that's how I see this operating. Kris Bryant will be there. He will come in as a late inning, you're down by 5, we're just going to throw someone out there, pinch hitter type of thing. I think that's the situation we find ourselves in. But I mean, some of the things he was saying, and Will says it in the chat, as someone with degenerative joint disease, let me tell you, it sucks. Like, he was describing it, Kris Bryant was describing it. It sounds miserable. He's talking about, like, getting up every morning. He's like, I'm in so much pain, I can barely walk. I'm nauseous, I can barely eat. And again, I don't have the same thing, but I fractured my spine, my lower spine, when I was in high school, and it is awful. Like, you feel like you can't move at all. It affects your entire body, your neck, your head, your legs. Like, so from an strictly injury perspective, like, it's just bad. It's just a bad luck. Like, the Rockies just made the wrong decision. I don't blame Kris Bryant. I blame the Rockies for not being prepared enough when they made that decision to put, $1/10 billion into this specific player. So it's a tough situation. Again, I don't want to talk too much about Kris Bryant today, just because we've been going in circles on this forever. But my big takeaway is he's done. This is it. Kris Bryant is not going to be a contributing factor. The experiment, the hope that he could get back to his initial form, is over. And Kris Bryant's time with the Colorado Rockies, at least from a maybe he was going to be a star. It's come to an end. So, unfortunate that has to be the legacy that we leave behind. Got to hit our last break. After the break, though, how much would you negotiate for a big league debut home run baseball? We asked that question when we come back. All right. Well, the official vehicle of DNVR and of the Colorado Rockies is, of course, Toyota. I don't even have to say it. I mean, brand recognition. Everyone knows it's Toyota. They're the best car out there, in my personal opinion. Spence and I both have Toyotas. We've been driving Toyotas our entire lives. I will continue to drive Toyotas because not only are they, affordable, effective, but they have so many different options. They look good, but they last forever. I mean, there's that saying that goes like a Toyota can, whatever you have on your miles on your current Toyota, double it, right? That's as long as your car is going to last. I got 250,000 miles. That thing may last me 300,000, 400,000 miles. Like, you never know. My Toyota is absolutely crushing it. But they have so many different choices. Highlander, RAV4, 4Runner, Tundra, really whatever you're into, they've got you covered. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. Also got to give some love to our friends right now over at Volo because it is nice weather again outside, and that means you're going to start seeing people out at the parks, around town, and anytime you see people having fun outside, there's a good chance it's the Volo crew. They're a pretty good crew to hang out with. They've got tons of different games, adult social sports leagues, pickup games. We're talking volleyball, soccer, pickleball, beer in hand, kickball, basketball, cornhole, tons and tons of options. So maybe you don't want to commit to joining a league. Just be a pickup player, right? Spence and I have done that. Like, we, just drop by the local park, see some Volo guys out there playing beer in hand kickball, sign up, and you get to be, just a little drop-in player. Tons of options.
Part of the team.
Call me
some beer and hand kickball.
Call me Kyle Farmer, the late edition, right? A little pinch hitter coming
Mickey
in.
Moniak.
Little Mickey Moniak. Players can sign up as a free agent, small group, or full team, and all ability levels and backgrounds are welcome to join. Use code DNVR10 for $10 off any Volo Denver league. All right, final 15 here on the show. Christian Saez, Big Fly Spence, and I asked the question: how much are you negotiating for a big league debut home run ball? Because we saw 2 big league debut home runs, or at least, first big league career home runs in Braxton Fulford and Zach Veen. Now, apparently Zach Veen's ball was easy to get back. I didn't hear anything on the negotiating side of that. But Braxton Fulford, if you were watching the game on television, you saw Spilly do the interview where, he kind of talked to it looked like a couple who were sitting out there that caught the ball. And the guy said, I initially asked for $1,000. Rockies said no, so I settled on a signed bat. Is there a middle ground in there? Like, you went from $1,000 to a signed Braxton Fulford bat and no in between.
Yeah, it sounds like he also tried to get a potential meet and greet, which the Rockies also turned down. To me, this is like, if you're an actual Rockies fan, like, not saying Braxton Fulford's not going to have a solid MLB career, the Veen ball would have been a little different for me. I would have been like, maybe we'll negotiate, maybe that $1,000 comes into play. Braxton Fulford, not quite as much, but I think, I'd do with a signed bat for maybe the entire team. I think that would suffice. It also is
a
funny.
Braxton Fulford signed bat is not going to do you much.
No, but I'm also the worst negotiator on the planet. So I would have maybe tried to go in hard like that dude and say 1,000, and then they would have said, "Here's a different foul ball baseball," and I'd be like, "Cool, all right, I guess that's fine." I'm not
Here's
a much
some cool
of
sunglasses.
Yeah, I'm not much of a negotiator.
I would have probably done some City Connect stuff. I would have said, "Hey, give me a City Connect jersey and hat, and I'm in."
Yeah, or that new jacket. Oh, the jacket's good.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't think my brain would be in negotiating mode at that very moment. I'm also a sentimental guy, and so there'd be the baseball side of me would be like, this is a big league debut home run. Like, I don't want to take this from this guy. Like, this guy's been waiting. Braxton Fulford's been waiting his entire life, and he makes his big league debut home run, and like, I don't want to take that from him. But on the flip side of that, knowing baseball, you should know how much a big league debut home run is worth to that player. Like, that guy wants to get that. If it was me as a player and I'm getting now a major league salary, at least a major league minimum salary, as Braxton Fulford is, just personally, aside from the organization, that ball's worth more than $1,000 to me. I hit my first home run as a Major League Baseball player. $2,000, $3,000. I'd pay for that. I would argue my family would probably even chip in. Like, I want that ball.
Yeah. You want that for the trophy case, which if you've made the major leagues, your trophy case is probably pretty extensive in general, but that's a super special one. And I like what Will said. I'd negotiate for a meal with the player. I think that would be sick. I think that'd be cool to be able to spend like even just a coffee and be able to talk with the guy for 10, 15 minutes and like learn his story. I think that would be a really cool opportunity. I know there's like a lot of legal involved and things like that. Like, you know, you have to go in. No, I think it's worth it.
You caught his major league debut home run ball.
Yeah.
Let me meet the guy.
I also think though that being a player, you know, you get it's valuable to some people, but that guy that caught it, him and his wife or his girl, they were clearly not like all that into baseball.
She had no idea who they were.
Yeah, exactly. So that,
to her credit, it was Braxton Fulford.
Correct. Yeah, there's not a lot of people that knew who that was, but I feel like I'm on the same page as you, where we've played baseball. Me not at a high level, but you know we've been around it enough of our lives to know how important that is, and just would kind of be like, yeah, you can have this one back. But then people that don't know. And maybe this guy's like a used car salesman on the side. You know, he could be getting into, started at 1,000, goes to whatever they offered him. Then he goes to meet and greet with the player. Then they agree on a sign bat.
Yeah, the sign bat one is, you know, come on, you could do more than that. If it was Zach Veen, I would probably want to do a meet and greet. Although, I was telling you this before the show, I've talked to both Braxton Fulford and I've talked to Zach Veen. Both really nice guys. You know, going to say that up front. Braxton Fulford's kind of a better conversation than Zach Veen is so far. And maybe Zach Veen's a little nervous. He gets a little nervous around the media. Like, he seems very kind of withdrawn from the media. And I don't know if there's something in his past that has caused him to be in that boat.
Not today, Satan.
Not today, Satan, as his headband said. Braxton Fulford was just like a sit down and, like you said, have a coffee, just chat, talk baseball type of guy. Zach Veen's kind of awkward, which you would not expect from a guy who is so charismatic on the field. And, you know, and when you talk to him, he's just kind of like, he's like very one word answer, kind of just shy. Like he's not as good of a conversation as I would have thought.
Yeah. And I think some of that may be the fact that I don't know how old he is, 22, 23 years old. He's just a kid. Like, we're getting to the age now where we can say people are kids that aren't actually kids. Like MLB players, that some of them are kids to us.
What are you, like 42 now?
Now that I've eclipsed the age of 31, there are a lot of professional athletes in their prime are younger than me, which is a very hard thing to get over.
Yeah.
It's still very, like, I look up to someone that's a year younger than me in Nikola Jokic, and that's like, feels weird.
Oh, I guess you're right. That is weird. Yeah, he's the big 3-0.
Yeah, and he's a year younger than me.
And you're a grandpa.
Yeah, I'm like, why am I
old as hell?
Why am I looking up to you?
See, I'm 27. I'm turning 28. I'm still.
Yeah,
in
you're
that.
still kind of. You still got like you're in the prime of your life.
Moniak and I are like right there. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, we're in the same age group.
There was an interesting question earlier regarding Mickey Moniak and trading any of the Moniak Martini Farmer. And he said, hold on, would we hold on to any of the Moniak's an interesting enough case where I think hanging on to him doesn't feel like Rockies recycling old players. If they, if they make some trades, which they didn't do at the deadline, I mean, they did kind of last year. They had a few bullpen guys that they shipped off, but Moniak would be top one of me in keeping because he's so versatile in the outfield and has
he's a depth piece.
The high
Rockies
talent level that Martini and Farmer haven't shown over a career of the MLB. Like they didn't come up as these guys that were just the next, like, and Mickey Moniak was a #1 overall pick. Like, that's a guy that I think
they grinded their way up, whereas Moniak kind of coasted his way up, just given his talent. It's interesting, and we're a long way away. We'll have this conversation plenty as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline, but this is going to be a very, very interesting trade deadline for the Rockies because you are on pace to have the worst record in the history of your franchise, coming off of 200 loss seasons. So that's saying something. And I truly have no idea what we're going to see from the Rockies. On one hand, if the Rockies get through July and they do nothing, I'm going to be sitting here with you raging on this podcast. But on the other hand, like, who do you trade? Like, Kyle Freeland? Well, Kyle Freeland's his blister isn't going anywhere for the rest of his career. I not to like connect this to me, but I had blisters as a pitcher as well. It doesn't go away. You just have to heal it, give it time to heal, and hope it doesn't pop back up your next start. You know, like blisters are impossible to deal with because they're just there forever. So Kyle Freeland's kind of weird, and I don't even know if the Rockies would trade him. You're not trading Brenton Doyle. You're not trading Ezekiel Tovar. Herman maybe, but does he have enough value by the deadline to warrant anything of value? Who else are we talking about here? Like Tolia? Are you willing to trade Tolia? Does Tolia have any value? Like the Rockies have no real pieces that they're willing to trade. Rymack, I guess, would be another guy that I would throw into that mix with Herman, but it's going to be an interesting trade deadline come July.
Yeah, and you hope that, you know, Martini and Kyle Farmer continue to play well. Tyro Estrada comes back, plays a decent second base for the guy that you signed and hoped would be your starting second baseman. Obviously, get Tovar off the shelf, get Doyle off the shelf, and then you maybe feel like you have a few of those vets that you can trade and find either a young bat or a younger bullpen piece as well. But yeah, there's not a lot of value out there right now, unless, you know, some teams do like those rentals of the older guys. It's just a rental in the Rockies' mind is a late spring training sign that you hope to have a good season in a limited role, whereas a rental for most teams is, hey, we're going to the playoffs this year and could really use this guy to fill in a piece instead of having a younger player in that spot.
Yeah, Wolfgang says they'd clean house on our starting pitchers. I don't know if they will. I really don't know if they will. I mean, I don't disagree with you, but also where do you turn from there? Nobody wants to come pitch in Colorado, and you're not going to get a lot of value from even your ace in Kyle Freeland because of his blisters and because of where he is in his career. And to be honest, I don't think the Rockies will trade him. It's just a weird spot that the Rockies find themselves in because, again, on one hand, your initial gut reaction is you're the worst team ever. Flip the table, change everything, get rid of everyone. But on the other hand, how? Who do you go for? Who do you turn to at this point? It's tough, man. I really don't know where the Rockies go. And like I said, we got time. We'll have, you know, a couple months before we see what July has in store for us. But it is going to be a very, very influential, either good or bad, trade deadline come July for the Colorado Rockies. And I really hope they do something good. But I don't know. I'd be shocked if they made a splash trading Tovar or Doyle. I almost did the Toil and Dovar.
Toil and Dovar.
We got to make a shirt about that at this point.
We need that.
We've done that multiple times. Hey, just real quick, if you guys are watching on television, we're going to go into overtime here in just a few seconds. So we're going to continue this conversation. Head over to thednvr.com/Rockies to continue this conversation. I want to, before we finish the show, just give our quick takes on the Colorado Rockies City Connect jerseys now that we've seen them in person. What do you think?
I like them, and they're undefeated in them, so wear them every single night, and they'll turn around and finish the season 142-19 or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
No problem. No problem. Actually, I did like the way they looked. I really like the gear around them, the jerseys themselves, but I'm still in on the color. I'm still in on the bright colors, and I think the pants are fine. I think white pants with the stripe down the middle. Looks really good on like a guy like Senzatella, or I believe it was maybe Farmer was wearing the high socks. The socks combined with the white pants, then the jersey looks really good. And some of the gear like Bud Black and Clint Hurdle were wearing the hoodie, jacket. Those are clean as well. I know D-Line loves that. Very clean
jerseys.
But I really like the colors, and I think to me, if you're watching a Rockies highlight from last night, which none of them probably made it to ESPN, and nothing crazy happened. But
the Moniak dive did.
Yeah, maybe some catches. They're like, whoa, what is that Rockies jersey?
We got two posts on MLB Twitter because of both Jordan Beck and Mickey Moniak's dives.
I love that.
I think they were just trying to promote the City Connects, but we'll take it.
Hey, we'll take it. They look good. And I think with the number on them, like mine doesn't have a number on it because I'm not buying any Rockies players with numbers right now. I'm just kind of in a hiatus on that.
Yep.
But
got to earn it.
I think the jerseys look better on the players with the numbers than they maybe look as a jersey, not as just a cool T-shirt on a normal human being like me.
I want to see it on a better player too. Give me the City Connect on Brenton Doyle when he comes up to hit. Give me the City Connect on Tovar. Like someone with a little more swag, right? The Rockies, aside from like Zach Veen, are swagless. Actually, that's a great question. Are the Rockies the most swagless franchise in Major League Baseball right now?
They have to be.
I mean, wins and losses aside, like there's nobody on the team that you're like, damn, that dude's kind of fun. Zach Veen is your guy, and Brenton Doyle.
And maybe Dolander around the nation, I should say. Like here, we've seen him start a few games and give up home runs every single game, but also he has some electric stuff and is a national name that's starting to come.
But I would go more hype with Dolander. Dolander has hype, although last game was brutal.
Yeah, that's true.
But the swag part, like Zach Veen has enough swag to sustain us right now. I mean, again, he wore a headband that said "Not today, Satan." Incredible. He's custom cleats that are arriving towards for the City Connects that are arriving here soon, I believe. Like Zach Veen has our swag all by himself. Doyle kind of does. Tovar kind of does. But there's nobody else where you're like, that guy's like Bryce Harper or Ellie De La Cruz. You know, like we don't have any of those guys.
Yeah, there's not a lot of flash in the Rockies.
And it's hard to have swag when you're striking out 4 times in a row in a game. So I do preface with that. But
I mean, Veen's doing a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, I mean, Veen's doing the best he can, but Will in the chat says, let Veen have his purple hair back, cowards. I agree. Bring swag back to the Colorado Rockies. And while we're at it, just bring up Jeffrey Yon too. Like, let's make some baseball fun again here in Colorado. But that's going to do it for us on the show. Thank you guys for hanging out with us in the chat. We'll be back on Friday with hopefully a couple road victories with the Colorado Rockies. They head on the road to take on the Kansas City Royals, my least favorite team in all baseball behind the Dodgers, just because, I don't know, they just are. But hopefully we get some wins. Hopefully we get game 2 wins tonight as well. Avs, Nuggets. Be sure to tune in to all of our DNVR stuff for that. Oh, and also real quick, Rooftop Friday. Before we go, Rooftop Friday, we're going to be there. As a whole, DNVR is going to be absolutely celebrating good vibes. Win or loss, good vibes. We're all going to be there. Nuggets, Avs, Broncos. Spence and I are going to be there. Nate's even going to be making his way into town. Nate's going to be making up to the rooftop. It's going to be a good time. So come hang out with us on Friday at the rooftop, Coors Field, with the DNVR crew. We'll see you guys there. See you next time. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. This has been the DNVR Rockies podcast presented by Bet365.
We all silly like the mayor.